Hey everybody, I'm Brian Bennett from Instructional Tech, and with me today,
Holly Mecker, also instructional tech.
and we are here to share some ideas with you on how to stay productive in your Google account in general. Now, I know that I've got some tips for Google Drive and Gmail, and Holly, where are your tips going to be on?
Mine's also in Google Drive and then in Google Keep.
Okay, so Google Drive is probably where we're living most of our time. So we've moved from Microsoft Word to the Google Suite stuff, and now for me, being productive means I can work quickly and efficiently. It means I can get to what I need when I need it, and I know it's just muscle memory. I'm not like looking for things to do, and so some of the tips I'm going to share are about how you can just work faster by keeping your hands on your keyboard. I'm going to share keyboard shortcuts in Drive and Meet, but then also in Google Drive, there's some helpful things you can do when you're looking at like folders of material. So I'll be talking about ways that you can move through Google Drive a little bit more efficiently, because any time I can save in my day just moving from place to place is time I can spend actually doing work. I'm not like waiting for stuff. So the efficiency is the big thing for me in terms of staying productive while I'm working each day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there are very few things in teaching that matter as much as being efficient with your time. Time matters, and the amount of time something takes really matters. And it really became apparent for me a few years back. I was easily working 10 to 12 hours a day, and that worked for me. I loved working. And as a teacher, I always felt prepared. I never felt rushed, and it generally resulted in a calmer classroom and smoother days. And I was really happy to really be excelling in the teaching world. And then I had other priorities come up. I got married and I have kids, and now that time is so precious. So as those priorities started to drift, I had to find ways to be more efficient with my time. And so really working at getting very good at the tools that I'm using has always really paid off in saving me time, because teacher burnout is a very real thing. And when we're really good at the tools that we use, it helps to kind of reduce those feelings that we are wasting so much time. So when we talk about Google Keep, it really helps us stay organized, which is nice because in my Drive, I'm not organized. And so I have some tips to kind of go through on how to work through your Drive when you aren't as organized as you should be.
So do you want to start with Google Keep? Because I use a different time management tracking work schedule system that's outside of Google entirely. So why don't we look at Google Keep first, and then we can jump into Drive and kind of go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so when you're looking at Google Keep is simply an organizational structure that you can use to organize different to-do lists, or to organize some tasks and to kind of put your projects in order. So here you see my Google Keep. As I just scroll through, you can kind of see it's color-coded. It's got some pictures and some links in there. So I'm just going to show you real quick how to make a new note and what all you can do with that note. So say, for example, I needed to make a weekend to-do list. So I can add a title, and I can put in things that I need to do. I need to pack a suitcase, and I need to clean out my fridge before we leave. Okay, so I can create to-do lists here, and I can simply make check boxes. I'm one of those people, I love to check things off my list. I make very small things so I can check as many items as I can. And so I have this note, and I can do a lot of things with it. I can color code it. So this is a personal note for me. And so my pink notes are always my personal ones. It separates me from work. I can also go ahead and add a label to it. And so I'm able to pull up just my personal notes if I need to.
Yeah, those are like filters, right?
Absolutely. Yep. And over here on the side, you can see that we can sort just by those filters. And so I can pull up just my work notes, or maybe just these little pieces of resources I want to share. And so these really help me to organize all of my little pieces into one kind of folder. I also really like that I can add a reminder on here. So say I'm gonna forget about this note that I've created. So I can go ahead and pick a time that I kind of want to be reminded about it. And so I'm just going to remind me at 2 o'clock that I need to do these things. And then instantly on my calendar, I refresh this page, it will put a reminder on my calendar. Not there yet. There it is. Weekend to-do list, pack suitcase. So I
Oh,
can
that's nice. I didn't know it did that.
yeah, it's really cool. I can go in there and instantly view that note. And I also asked it for 2:00. And so if I'm anywhere in the Google realm, I'll get a notification at the bottom of my screen at 2:00 that tells me to remind myself about this note, which is really nice. You also can sort just by right here, just by notes that have reminders. You can pop in there and just see those as well. We also, when I use it on my phone a lot. I have a lot of thoughts that go through my head, and then if I don't write it down, then
Thinking the thoughts.
yeah, it stays in my thoughts and it doesn't go anywhere. And so on my phone, you can talk into Google Keep, and it will record your voice. So this one right here, I wrote in something for this weekend. I could listen to it if I needed to, and it automatically does that transcription for me. So it looks, I mean, it's word for word what I was speaking. And so it's nice that it's able to take my thoughts and put it into words for me. And it also can do the same thing with pictures. It has OCR. And so I took a picture of this list. My husband rattled off some things he wanted on our Walmart pickup. And so it instantly transcribed them here into a list for me. So then I was able to organize.
So I haven't looked at Google Keep in years. It's like all this is new to me. I didn't know it did all that. That's really nice.
Yeah, it's got
I
some
have
really
to go
good
back to
things.
it.
Yeah. This one, so you can grab URLs from websites. So if I'm on a blog post, maybe I want to share this with teachers, I have the extension here for Keep, and I simply can just take a note about it, blog post, and maybe say sketchnoting, and then it will instantly save that over into my Keep right here. And so then I can take it and I can organize it as I need to. I could color code it. I think those ones are that color, and I could put it under my labels. So it can instantly be somewhere where I can now sort all of those different links that I have found that I want to share. And then maybe I'd put a reminder on it to be like, okay, I need to send this out to Brian at 3:00 this afternoon. And so it's just a really great place for me to save my time by staying organized. I talked about how in my Drive, I'm not organized, but in my Keep, I'm able to, it's a system that works for me. And so I think what's important about finding an organizational system is finding one that works for you. And Keep works really well for me, especially because it works over multiple devices. You know, it works through Google Drive. So it's anywhere that I am. It's on my phone, it's on my iPad. It would be on any sort of device that you have. You can pretty much access Google Keep.
Yeah, I get really sucked into like, what could I be doing better? And so I'm looking at this and thinking, oh man, I might need to change what I use. Because I have a system, you know, and I do my, like my to-do list is kind of based on projects. And so I've got columns and I do stuff. I've got what I call the backlog, which is just stuff that needs to happen eventually, but it's not critical. And then I've got, next to backlog is my, like to-dos, and the to-dos I limit to just 2 or 3 tasks at a time. But you're right, like the checkoff is super satisfying.
It crosses it off and moves it to the bottom of the list. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and if you read any kind of like productivity book, they always talk about small accomplishable goals. And so not writing things like you know, clean the house, it's you know, starting in the kitchen or vacuum or whatever. Like there are things that's an action based. So but anyways, so I do like a backlog, and then I've got my to-do, which is like the next step, and then I move them into in progress. And so it's very linear in terms of my thinking, but it only runs in the one app, and it doesn't tie into my calendar or anything like that. So I gotta
think about it. You can also collaborate on notes, and so you can share them with people, and they can show up in both of your notes, which is kind of cool. So.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Holly, you might have converted.
1 point for me.
So that's Google Keep. All right. I'm going to jump over into Drive on my screen. So my Meet's going to go away. I'm just going to share my Drive screen right now. But so I am like Holly, and that I have some folders in Drive, but I don't organize. You know what? I should just share my screen. This is dumb. Let me go back. Present. Okay, tab. We're recording in 2 places, and that's why I thought maybe just... Okay. So here's my Google Drive. It's like Holly, like it's just kind of a hot mess. I have some folders, but they're not really organized by anything in particular. They're kind of topical, but I'm really bad. And so, yeah, here's all the files. Look at that. Just file after file after file. So when I'm working in Drive, I'm not necessarily looking for my folders and I'm not looking for specific items. So there's a couple places I use really heavily. So one, I use the recent tab a lot because at times, we tend to work on like projects in a given window or like a unit or something like that. And so my recent files, those are usually the ones that I'm working on. Now the quick access is kind of nice, but there's no way to customize this. So I don't use it a whole lot, but the recent tab is my place, but really the search. This is like the chef's kiss of Google Drive. So let's say I'm looking for a particular slideshow and I can type the name of the slides in here, but even better is you can use the drop down menu under the search options and you can filter by the type of Google Drive thing. So whatever you've gotten here. So if you just know you're looking for a thing and you remember it was a presentation, but you don't remember what it was called, the owner can be anyone, the location can be anywhere, and then the date modified. This is helpful if you know it was like last month I saw a thing. But when you do the presentation, it'll just search for presentations. You can do the same thing with sheets or docs. I don't know, Holly, do you ever go to like the just the docs.google.com to get only the documents, or using the waffle? Do you ever just go to this docs filter here?
No, I use that. This was actually my second tip. I use that search bar too, and look for. It's usually the type is always a slides. I can never find my slides, and so I do slides, and it automatically fixes the presentation, and I find just those slides in there.
Yeah. So and now so that's kind of tip one, is use the search heavily. Because that's kind of what Google does. But I don't ever use the menu here. So I like to keep my hands on the keyboard, because anytime I have to reach for a mouse or move to the slide, it's short, but it's like time. And I'm clicking and I don't always know where the menus are. So my first tip is, when you're working, pay attention to what the computer does for you. So notice when I clicked on the down caret and changed to presentations, it auto-filled type:presentation. So pay attention to this kind of stuff, because now I wonder if I can just do type:"document" and I can type in the thing I'm looking for, and it's now going to search only my documents. Or I can do type=sheet or type:"sheet. I can do owner and then search for H. Mecker. Oops, I can't type your name. So I can search. I know Holly made a document. She's the owner. This is going to be shared documents that she's the owner of, that I can then go in and look for. So this is kind of my major tip, is pay attention to some of these shortcuts or what Google is doing in the search bar, because as you start to learn the ones you're using frequently, like if you find yourself reaching for click to get just to your documents, to your presentations, it's much faster when you get dumped into Google Drive with everything to come up into search and do type, say I want a folder. If it'll just filter down any folder I've got anywhere, and that's even nested folders. So you can see I've got some that are starred, and those are kind of like a filter. I don't even use the stars very much. But you can do type folder, and then let's say I know I've got a folder called thumbnails. So searching for the title of the folder will give me, oh, here we go, 2 folders called thumbnails. I don't know who Ryan Carter is, but this is the one I'm looking for. So just using your search effectively is really good. And now this is going to lead to my next one. These are all titled ECS Institute Images 017. They're just numbers. I have no idea what session it's for or who it's for. So when you're working in a Drive file or in a folder in particular, when you click on something, you can use this information button and it'll pull up a little thumbnail. So I can see, all right, so that's for Heather Hall's session. Another way to get this, and this is more helpful for things like documents, like if you have a folder full of student documents and you push the letter P on your keyboard in Google Drive, it'll give you a preview of that file, whatever that file is. Yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't know that one. That's really cool.
Yeah. So now I've got a full view of the file I'm looking at. But imagine you've got a folder full of student documents. You've got 30 Google Docs that kids are all working on at the same time, and you just want to keep track of what's happening. Maybe you're a virtual teacher and you don't have Apple Classroom right here to look at their screens. I can go into a folder full of student documents, hit the P key, and it'll pull up a snapshot of that document in the moment. and I can go and I can look at their progress that they're making at any time in that folder. So if you're using folders to organize student work, hit the P key because it's going to pull up that preview and I can see where they are. It's not updating live, but it gives me a look at, this could just be even for completion, right? Did they do the document? Hit P and I can do a quick completion check. The other one that I use a lot is the period key. So if I need to share something, you can hit share up here, but then it's still another menu, like click, click, click to get somewhere. So I'm going to pick an image or a file and I push the period on my keyboard. It'll pull up my share menu right here.
What?
Yeah. Keyboard shortcuts.
I need to learn these.
Yeah, this is the stuff. So it'll pull up that share menu and then you can just go on your way. You never take your hands off the keyboard. So if you're like, oh man, what other keyboard things can I do? If you push Shift ? So like you're putting a question mark into a document, it'll pull up the menu of all of the different things you can do. And you can even search here. So if I wanted to rename a file, it'll give you the keyboard shortcut for that thing. So start paying attention to the keyboard shortcuts. And I'll do Gmail in a minute because Gmail has got a whole boatload that'll make your life a lot easier.
I can really see that being very powerful when you have kids working on things. So if I want to see the progress that we made in a day, like I'm going to check everyone's work and I just want to preview it, to not have to double click and open each one and then go back to your drive each time. Like that can give you a significant amount of time.
Yeah, like you get tab overload then because did I open this kid already or not? So pushing P and then you just use left and right and it'll scroll through everything in the document or in the file.
Really, really cool.
That's killer.
Yeah. And you actually stole my next tip with using how to use the search bar more efficiently.
Oh, no.
That's why I'm not organizing my drive, but I don't have to be because I'm really good at filtering my Google Drive. My favorite is Owner Me. I'm in a lot of really large folders.
Oh, yeah.
So just like you had something, you're like, I don't know who that is. I have so many things from people I don't know who they are. So I almost always push Owner Me just so that I only am getting things that are mine, that I own. And so it saves me tons of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the keyboard shortcuts are like, when I started learning those, that was a big moment for me. And it makes me feel so powerful because I always know exactly what I need to do. And I don't know them all. I mean, you saw in there were dozens in that list, but knowing like the 5 or 6 that I use all the time saved me so much time.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to search for the owner for a student. So if you're looking for something that a student shared with you, I have a student who still shares things with me. She's an author and she likes to write and she shares things with me. So I search just for her name and I get all of her writing that she shared with me. So I really like those for at least the implications that you can use in the classroom, I think are really great.
Yeah. Yeah. The folder one in the classroom, like that's just such a big, big, powerful one, especially, like you said, like if you're just looking for progress in the day, I'm not grading it right now, maybe, but being able to see just that snapshot of where we are right now is really great. Okay. So since I still hear Google Drive one, you want me to do the Gmail stuff?
Yeah, jump into mail.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to share my Gmail window now. Let me get that. Okay. So shortcuts in Gmail. You have to turn them on. They're not on by default. So to do that, you just go into your settings and it's under See All Settings. And it'll take you to like this mega one. But if you go down, it's maybe halfway down. Nope, I went too far. It's in here somewhere. Anyways, it just said you enable keyboard shortcuts. I don't remember where it is, but whatever. You got to turn it on. So you can go in and find it. But once you turn it on, now the keyboard shortcuts will work in Gmail. And there's some ones that I use, again, all the time. If you want to see what they are, question mark again. So Shift ? On your keyboard will bring up all the keyboard shortcuts and you can see what's available. But my main ones are Compose. So when I want to start a new email, and especially since Google added like the new like floaty UI, like it just takes time to open the thing and like your mouse lags a little bit. Now you just push the C key and a new message, boom, pops right up. And I can start typing and doing whatever. And remember, this auto saves as you go. Another one, like if I want to delete an email, so like I've got all these emails in here, I can select. So click on one, hold Shift, and click on the next one in your list. See how it grabs everything in between?
Yeah.
Then to delete them, you can hit delete here. You could do Shift 3 will delete. But you shouldn't be deleting. You should be archiving stuff. So because if you delete it, it's gone after 30 days, like completely gone. If you archive it, it'll pull it out of your inbox. And that's the E key. And I have no idea why it's E, but I just remember archive. And now those will be removed from my inbox. Oh, I may have lied. Oh, no, there they go. Okay. Now they're out of my inbox, but I can still search for them. I can go find them later. And Gmail search is the other like banger tip. So if you know you got an email from somebody from : you can just, it'll autofill. So if I know Holly sent me an email, I can search for those. Oops, I clicked on an actual one. Oh, look at that. That's we practiced this session a lot. So I can search for people. There's nothing.
I've never emailed instructional tech.
Oh yeah, that's right. You probably never sent one there.
I've
okay.
never sent anything to instructional tech. You can see that I've never emailed instructional tech.
I don't send instructional tech emails either. Yeah. So you can search by person. Another one is really good is the is search. So you can put a status on it. So if I have an email that is unread, I can search for that. Now nothing's going to show up because I don't have any unread, but you can do is unread. You could do is trying to think of some other states, is archived. You could search for. You can search in, and then if you're using labels like folders, you can search for in a label. I can also search for emails in the trash, is unread. So if I deleted an email accidentally, I can do is trash, is unread, or in trash is unread, and they would show up here. So you can kind of stack these on top of each other. So to learn those, again, just use the drop down and you can fill this form out. Cool. And you can search and it'll look for those. So that's one of my favorites too, is the is in inbox is unread is one that I use a lot. Because then it'll just filter down the new emails that you've got, right? Because when you log in, you've got all this stuff too. Mm-hmm. So using the search here is really powerful. And then the C to write an email. And then to send it, you do Control Enter. You don't even have to move your mouse to click down. You can hit Control Enter or Command Enter on a Mac, and it'll send that email, and you can go. So just like, because Gmail and Drive are like the two places we are all the time. So knowing kind of those the shortcuts or the search terms are the really helpful ones to find the stuff you're looking for, especially.
I love how consistent Google is in their search, like in their search bars and in all their features. Like you talked about archiving emails. That's the same thing in Google Keep. When you archive a note, it doesn't, you can still search for it, but it's no longer messing up your space.
Yeah.
So you don't have to delete it. You can just archive it and not look at it again. So I love how consistent that is, because once you learn the system, then you're saving yourself time. Because I learned it in Mail, and now it carries over to Google Drive. So I think that's really good.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, it's hard to not or to know what you don't know. And I think these are one of the ones that is like, what does archive do? I've never clicked on it. Like that kind of stuff is important, and you can find them using those help dialogues. And most Google, I think, Shift ? Will pull up the keyboard shortcut, especially in like Drive and Gmail in particular. It'll pull up kind of those menus that you can use to search for help articles and things like that. But I think this was a good session for me, because people are like, how do you stay on top of all the work? Because we do cover a lot of ground. And this is it. Like, if I can save time just not moving to my mouse, like that's going to keep me sane. And the search is the biggest one.
Absolutely. I think there's just so much to keep track of. Even as teachers, there is a lot to keep track of. There's a lot of moving pieces. Like, you can't forget that March is reading month, and you can't forget that this day's coming up, and finding ways to reduce time and organize yourself and find ways that the organization works for you. Folders does not work for me. There are things that work for me. And so finding what works for you can really just save your sanity, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it saves your time. So
Yeah, and if you can, okay, yeah, and that's the other thing too is like if you've been a folder person forever and it just sucks up your time, we're all in Drive now. Just dump stuff in there and then search for it because you don't have to.
Just my inbox and my Drive. It's just full.
Yeah, yeah, you don't have to like staying organized like a file system is kind of I let go of that a long time ago. And I can still be efficient with it because the search is so good and kind of knowing some of those key search terms is made the transition for me. I don't have to stay like click folders all the time. Even though I've got a ton of folders in there, I don't know where stuff is, but I know what to search for to get the stuff I need.
Absolutely.
So, okay, we hope the session was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. This is archived. You can go back and watch later if you missed it. But yeah, I'm Brian.
Holly, we appreciate you guys coming in.
Yeah, see you next time.
See ya.